Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, Episode 8, Snatch Game. Episode late, more like it.
Sorry, I was out of town.
You were doing your best Anna Delvey. You were in New York.
I do not have time for Drag Race.
I do not have time for this. Okay. So we just watched it. It was good. I'm trying to think if there was anything. Well, okay. So it was Snatch Game.
Yep.
We've had a couple of clunkers recently, and so I think that this one actually fared pretty well.
Well, it was like we watched the All Stars or All Winners All Stars, and that was like watching SNL, and this was like watching like your college's improv troupe. So it's like after that, it's like it's such a steep decline regardless, but like this was like a really decent. It
was well, because even we said while we were watching it, where it was like even Mhi'ya, who I would say bombed the hardest.
Yeah.
She was doing something.
Her Jane Goodall impression is great.
Well, because they said, they were like, if it was just an impression, and RuPaul, it's actually one of my favorite words, and I think it's because I don't fully understand how to use it. Okay. But Ru was like, you're very cerebral.
Oh. Well, no, she is, though. Yeah. It fits, but...
Because there is a reality where that slayed.
Yeah.
Where her just being intense and making monkey noises could have slayed. And it's actually part of... It's one of the things that a lot of people don't like about Drag Race is RuPaul.
Oh. Because
she can be very fickle. And she can be...
There is a capriciousness.
Yeah. And it's part of the fun for me. And I think like a lot of people try to treat Drag Race very objectively, like it's like judges scoring the Olympics.
Yeah, no, it's very subjective because and also you're right, because it's the thing we've talked about a lot where it's like, how come when Miss Vanjie was wearing nothing but bodysuits, it was like a huge problem, but you see somebody else wearing nothing but bodysuits.
Bosco did like the bikinis like 5 weeks in a row.
No, I got really mad. I was like, no one's giving Bosco shit for wearing the exact same like silhouette the whole time. So it's like, it's less like Olympic judging and more like, whose line is it anyway? Where it's all made up and the points don't matter, and it's literally at the whim of RuPaul.
Yeah, this word is overused, but it is largely vibes. And I mean, think of anything creative. Like even think about something like food. It's like what works for one recipe is not going to work for all recipes. Yeah. And it's like, so
you can't just start cooking Asian food in butter. Like it's like, simply not going to work.
Just because throwing in an amount of this worked one time doesn't mean it's going to work every time. And so I think people get really hung up in that, and I guess I either knew that or understood that going in.
Sure.
Because Ru was a little bit fed up with Mhi'ya.
A little, yeah.
Because I can't think of the example, but she did something where she started to do a bit.
Yeah.
And Ru just was like, anyways, next topic. Yeah. Like, Ru was just like, oh, I'm not even going to entertain this.
And also to that same point where it's like, after, when they were doing the critiques on the runway, they were like, morphine, that was really, really bad and terrible, and you should feel bad, and it was bad. And I was like,
quote.
I thought she held her own. Like, the way that it was edited, I guess, it was not that embarrassing. It was not as embarrassing for Morphine as it was for Mhi'ya.
That's another thing, is because this was actually a fairly short, like it was a very quick clip we moved through the Snatch game.
Yeah.
And I feel like there have been times where, well, I guess it was last year where we had two, it was so early where we had like shifts.
Two. Yeah.
And I didn't care for that.
Because I think they also started with 16 queens instead of 14. And so, because it's also like, I would have loved to see more of Q's Amelia Earhart.
I think so we're talking about Snatch Game. I'm not going to fight it.
No, I mean...
I liked Q's Amelia Earhart.
It was just the library was the mini challenge. The reading was the mini challenge.
Yeah, well, I was going to talk about Saphira, too, because we'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Q's Amelia Earhart. They were comparing it to her brick, which when they showed us that, I was like, okay, sure. Side by side. But those two characters, even just the way that she designed the brick,
it just
looked different enough that I don't know. I felt like they were reaching.
I thought they were reaching too, especially because like I in my head was like, oh my god, somebody did just do a brick at Stonewall. Was that on an episode of SNL? I did not remember that it was this until they showed it, and then I was like, I mean, I guess the accent is a little similar, but
I like the strategy. I think that what most people want from Snatch Game is an impersonation and, more importantly, a spoof.
Sure.
Like a parody or a send-up. But if you can't do that, I like doing a take. And one of my favorite examples of that was Rosé's Mary Queen of the Scots.
Sure, that was so funny.
Especially because she was just doing Scottish nonsense. It was just like gibberish. A garbled mess.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's a risk, because if Ru hadn't been receptive to it, then her entire thing is out the window.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I do think that...
Because the same, I feel like, with Plain Jane in this, where it's like, first of all, none of the judges realized that she was doing a real person. And then second of all, if you're just doing like Russian, Baltic...
Slavic,
again, kind of nonsense. It's like a real crapshoot if it's gonna. But then she was engaging with the other ones too, and it's calling the NW a really ugly man. Like, I mean, it was good. But again,
well,
that's
I just loved
like
she was so tired and beaten down, and she just kept massaging the breasts.
Yeah,
it was very funny. But the issue that I'm having with Q is I think Q is very good and very polished to the point where it a little bit gets in her way. I almost see her and Sapphira as a yin and a yang, where it's like I kind of want Q to take some of Sapphira's energy or some of her gumption.
No. She needs some of her, like, literally anything to disguise my dance shoes energy.
Some of that. Yeah. And then similarly, I think Sapphira needs a little bit of Q's polish.
A little bit of the polish, yeah. I agree.
And so for the Amelia Earhart, I think it was solid, but I do wish that there was a little bit more old-timey jokes.
Okay, I think she could have gone one either way. I think a little bit more old-timey jokes, or like way more dark, like I died in the crabs ate my body, like, like one or the other. Like really zippy Katharine Hepburn stuff, or like really dark.
When you say Amelia Earhart now, I immediately go to that Family Guy with the Lindbergh baby.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's like, you're right. So like very irreverent, dark. Mm-hmm. The Tsunami with the Gold Tooth Fairy. This is a fantastic...
Such a good idea.
And look. But she just didn't do anything.
That's the thing, is it's like, I already in my head, I'm like, so many different, like, it could be almost like a Cash for Gold type of, like one of those Cash for Gold
or like
commercials.
A QVC.
Cash for Gold, QVC, a check cashing place.
Like it needed an angle where I almost wish there was a sinister quality.
Sure.
Like, what are you doing?
Like a check cashing place.
What are you doing with these teeth?
Yeah. But it was just like not, and then she was talking about a piggy bank and like dollar bills and like
But she couldn't volley with Ru, because Ru was like, oh, so you keep the money and the teeth in the bank?
Yeah.
And you literally saw Tsunami be like,
shit, yeah. Like, because
next question.
Because also you could see, like, Ru was very clearly poking a hole. Like you're talking shit, and I'm gonna get it. Like,
we talked a little bit about Mhi'ya. The makeup, the idea was so good, and again, it was like she clearly knew.
She seems like that. Like, I
she
think
seemed
that
knowledgeable.
was. I think Jane Goodall was Nymphia's little girl obsession. Like,
yes,
I was obsessed with that was what she was into.
And we said this during our watch along, but one thing that I do like and I do appreciate about Mhi'ya, considering that she's yellow and bananas, is she at the very least is finding ways to make the banana thing fresh.
Sure, I just love that she was like, also bananas. About Jane Goodall, and we both were like, I mean,
oh, okay, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna come down real hard on this Dawn Megan McCain impression.
It's not great.
I think my issue is because we know Meghan McCain has spent a lot of time on television.
Yeah.
We know what she looks like. We know what she sounds like.
Yep.
We know what she is like.
This hair, like, why are we not doing like a sock
The weird top knots and like the weird sort of like almost verging on appropriation hairstyles that she's always managing to do.
Get those baby hairs. Lay down those baby hairs. Like,
and the thing is because I said again during our watch along, it's my great shame, but growing up, I was from a conservative household. And so there was an overlap in my adult life where I was sort of like exploring my political options. And so as such, I was familiar with Meghan McCain. I read her 2 books she wrote with Michael Ian Black. And who she is now is not that person. Yeah. I don't know why she felt the need to drink the Kool-Aid, yada, yada. But all that is to say that from like the neck down, I guess she certainly looks like a Republican commentator.
She looks like a Republican stewardess.
She's giving me like a college, like a sorority girl.
Sure. For me, again, this
I guess is Meghan.
This should have gone in one of 2 directions, which is very like.
It should have been Gretchen Wieners.
Or something like that. It should have just been like very straightforward Meghan McCain, or again, very dark, like my dad was a POW kind of shit.
I wouldn't do that.
I would
go more like my dad, the inventor of democracy, is going to hero. Like I would have leaned into that angle way more.
But I meant in like a dark comedy way, not like an actual, you know what I mean?
So...
But I just, because that there is such a nepotism to her, too, that I, like, leaning into that part of it. Or just, like you said, there's so much footage of Meghan McCain.
That's a treasure trove to work with that person. And
what's really a shame is that nobody else did somebody else that was on The View with her, because that would have, like, maybe could have helped a little, but...
It just
people have done really bad whoopies, too, though. Well,
but again, and I realize this is already... triple the amount of time anybody wants to hear us talk about Meghan McCain, but it's not a good impression. And this falls back on, it was the moment that I sort of was like, with Kate McKinnon was when she was new on SNL, like 2012, 2013. One of her first recurring impressions was Ann Romney.
Oh.
And she was like, the thing about Ann Romney is she's actually likable in a vacuum. And so I think when people, especially people, liberal, queer people, take on these types of characters, they're more preoccupied with taking them down.
Yeah, which is, she literally said, too, Dawn did say, like, I'm going to read her for filth. And I was like, well...
Versus actually doing...
Yeah, it's the way that people specifically, like, the one that comes to mind is Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, where he's like... You can't play as if you know you're the villain. Mm-hmm. You have to be the humanity in the character, or else it's not interesting. Because then you get to like a Walking Dead villain place where I'm like, you're just evil for the sake of it, and it's not interesting. You have to actually find something within that's also to relate to.
That's also a reason why Gottmik's Paris Hilton was so good, is because very few people before that point had actually done an impression of Paris. They were always doing a take on her persona, or her, rather more so, not even her persona, her reputation.
Yeah.
And so...
Oh, shit.
Hey, Rue, how's it going? That's so fucked up.
That was so good.
I love Paris. Saphira outdid herself this episode.
Very good.
I don't know how she was not in the top, because...
I agree.
Jane did a good job. Jane did a great job. And we'll get to her in a second. But she's also won before, and Saphira hasn't, I don't think.
I guess for me, Plain Jane was more all the way around in the performance.
Okay.
There were moments with Saphira where I was like, I mean, I recognize that that's James Brown, but I don't like...
I thought it was...
It was very good.
I loved it. I loved the glittery titties. Well, what I was going to get at is I think it was Kennedy Davenport did James Brown.
Shut up.
I think you're right.
And that was kind of... my understanding is a little bit of a famous moment, because up until that point they were really dissuading people from doing men, which James Brown is a drag queen. Come on.
That's the thing for me. I'm just kind of like, also if it's even if it's not somebody who, feels, in the spirit of drag, I feel like if it's somebody with a large enough personality, You should just be able to do them anyway.
I think one of the reasons why they've dropped that talking point is because culturally, drag has gotten so much bigger and so much more relevant, but also our understanding and our conversation around gender has changed so much.
I was going to say that because also, like, now that there's such a wider grasp of transness, especially, like, in the community and in the queens themselves, I think dissuading people, because, like, you know, if, oh my God, what's her name? The one that just won.
Willow Pill was 2 seasons ago. Last season, Sasha Colby.
Like, if Sasha wants to do a man, Sasha should be able to do a man.
Kylie Sonique Love, on her season, did both Steven Tyler and Dolly Parton. And it's like, which one of those is the drag queen?
Yeah.
Both of them. You know?
For sure.
And so I think it's good. And so when people will sort of criticize the show in that regard, I'm like, well, sure. I mean, I guess as far as consistency goes, that's an apt criticism. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a good direction to be heading in, I think.
Sure. And also, like, for my money, it's like, at what point do you, like, just sort of have to open it up to men? Because otherwise we're going to start repeating women. Which we already have.
Yeah. Because that's another one we were talking during the commercial break of during our watch along about what we would do on Snatch Game. And, like, because one of the places that my comfort zone, that my knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh, I could do Mae West. But Alaska famously planted a flag in that, you know, and so there's really no point in trying to do it again. And so, and anyways, all of this was to say that Sapphira did in my opinion, a fantastic job with a character that has already been done fantastically.
Agreed.
And enough time had passed, and her take was different enough.
And I love when they called out the shoes. And then she, like, went off and she was like, that wasn't me. I haven't seen you since 1969.
Because both Sapphira and Plain Jane broke the first rule of improv, which is no. They said
don't
no.
Say no.
But at the very least, they were funny doing that.
It was like a no and.
Yeah.
not a yes and, but not a straight
they
no.
Did. You're correct. The and part is what's important.
Yeah. Or like a no, however.
And so, yeah. Plasma? I expected more from both her and from her in general and from her Patti LuPone, because Patti is such a thing.
Yeah.
That I'm just kind of like
if I was Patti LuPone, I'd be a little mad.
This just felt like the same thing she was doing with Barbara.
Sure.
When she did Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, okay, and which one was it that was like, you've been doing the same shtick? It was Dawn. I think. I was like, okay, Dawn, you're being a little catty, but, like, I am seeing it. Like, we do need something else.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with the thirsty Bradley Cooper wants an Oscar energy. Come on, man.
Take that, Bradley Cooper.
Again, I had no beef with Bradley Cooper.
She screamed.
He's trying so hard and is looking a little desperado.
Yes. Morphine's Anna Delvey was... I agree with you. I think it was better than the narrative the show went with.
It was better than the critiques she got.
But it also was
not amazing.
I mean, how many times can you just tell someone they look poor?
The first time
it is pretty funny, though. You know, I'm going to give this to Mhi'ya.
Yeah.
Because... You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean?
I think for Mhi'ya, the performance was good, and we needed this. This is what I've been asking for her. I am also not against doing your own original character or doing a take on a character or something.
Yeah.
But this was nothing. This was just her doing, hey. I mean, she was funny at it.
Sure.
But this was not an impression.
I think the point was that we have not seen this from Mhi'ya before, which is
in that regard, I'll give it to her.
Why she got saved. I thought it was pretty funny. I love that she kept on stealing Anna Delvey's money and just like putting it in her bikini top.
Oh.
Yeah. She would just kept grabbing the dollar
No,
bills.
I saw it, but I thought she was producing them. I didn't realize that through line was lost.
But also, who was she gonna be before they talked to her?
New York.
Oh, Tiffany Pollard.
Which,
I think
talk about there being material. Well, I think someone could do New York.
Yeah.
I'm unconvinced on what I've seen from Mhi'ya.
Well, also, I think that is this not a real character? I assumed we'd like seen this cousin in the background of whatever show that was from.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because they were like, everyone knows Trina. And I was like, yep.
Sure.
I've definitely heard that name before.
Well, I guess somebody will tell us if we should know her.
I think, is she... Does she sing? I just thought she rapped. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
But, and then again, Plain Jane did a very good job with Elena Carliuso. Yelena Carliuso. Something like that. I didn't know who that person was to the extent that I went, yes, Yelena Carliuso.
Classic.
However, I was very aware that there are a handful of those types and that Lady Gaga has
inspiration.
Borrowed a few tricks from their playbook.
Well, I just love that when Plain Jane was like, the like Baltic Madonna, and I was like, so just do Madonna, like, but again with the accent, she wanted to do the accent. She was really good at it,
and it was also kind of like it was very much in her wheelhouse, but she did do a good job with it, and I would have given it to Sapphira. I think Sapphira should have won, but she was certainly high for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I wish Q gave just 25-30% more, and the three of them would have been my top.
Sure.
But, yeah. So from there, I did want to say that Sapphira, she's been bubbling under, and I've liked her the whole time, because we really responded to the opera.
Yeah.
But there's just, with each additional episode, I feel like I get pulled more in. She has a siren song quality, and she masterclass the scene in this episode. It started with her and Tsunami, and the way she nurtured Tsunami's realization that she was in danger, girl, was masterful. And the way
she was very gentle about it.
Very, but not patronizing. Like and the way that when the spotlight came on her, and like I said, I mean, she took those earrings out, she stretched, I was enraptured in the story where she was talking about her father. And like I was very Parks and Rec, Leslie Knope listening. Well, and that doesn't even work because in that scenario, I know the story. Well, don't we all know the story?
Like, haven't you heard the story before? Yeah, but the drama.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That is. I stand by. Yeah. That's precisely how I felt, and I was just like, that is how you do it.
Yeah.
That is how you do it. And it. I already said kind of like I wish her and Q could sort of like rub off on each other.
I bet they wish that too.
but there is such a well, and actually it kind of goes with her dancing shoes. It's like it's very she's done this before, in a way that it's.
Well, I do think she made a comment about something where she's got bad knees or something, and so she's got to wear like more specific shoes. So I'm like, give her a little hard time, but like, don't make her put on something that's gonna hurt her.
Rue also kept calling her Slewfoot. Rue is like, do you remember that? At least she dropped that. But the thing is, I almost feel like Sapphira maybe was like knocked on Rue's door and was like, okay, let's cut that. Like, I've got the note. Cut it. Take it back a notch. And Rue was like, okay.
Okay, all right,
fine. So I guess from there we can do the runway.
It was like dancing queens. Yeah.
This was a really solid look for Rue. I really like it. I feel like every season she has like 2 or 3 knockouts.
Yeah.
She has about 2 clunkers.
And the rest are safe.
Yeah. And this was definitely a safe week for her. Yeah. I feel like we've seen it before, but it's still
similar,
good.
At least,
yeah. And I'm sort of like, it's good to see. I like this. I like
this color blue.
Mm-hmm. I like the styling, the headband.
Yeah.
It gives very 80s.
Yeah.
So yes, Dancing Queens. I thought this was good safe. Yeah. She came across more as a crash test dummy to me.
I agree. Well, because she's not very good at dancing. She's also not very good at doing the robot. So like, what are you good at doing? Q. Movement wise, what are you good at?
What I appreciated is there was a lot to look at.
Yeah.
There was, and not in a cluttered way.
Agreed.
But in a, okay, you're at least committed to doing what it is you're doing.
Totally agreed. Also, she just like...
It could have easily just looked like a bodysuit, and it didn't for me.
She also just like so didn't embarrass herself this week, and I'm just happy about that. She even made the comment where she was like, this is the first week I'm not up for critiques, but I feel so good to just be back here. And I was like, love that energy. This is so pretty. Oh, it's Tsunami.
Yes, Tsunami.
Yeah. Such a good color. But you're right. It's like the lights up here on the stage, because this red's even more beautiful backstage.
Because we were talking, it's kind of a mauve color.
Yeah.
And with the runway lights, it was just coming across silvery. Yeah. And I don't know, there was something about this that didn't connect with me. You really liked it, but...
Well, I just like the movement of it.
Sure.
And once you see it in, like, lights, the way that it looks on her skin is just beautiful. So complimentary.
For me, it's very similar to what she did for Cher, and I just preferred that.
Okay.
And then it's also very similar to what Plain Jane does, and I prefer Plain Jane's look.
Okay.
So I'm sort of like... You look like someone else, and I like what they did better. And also, I've seen you do this better.
Okay.
So that's sort of how I felt.
I guess for me, it's really the color. I think the color, once you see it in lights, it's just really beautiful.
Because there was like...
There was, beating here. This
Mhi'ya.
bitch, I swear.
This is stunning.
This, I think, is what Ru means when she's like, you're very cerebral, where she's very thoughtful about the looks that she's doing. But it's kind of like sometimes, when you make jokes and I'm like on Twitter or like stuff, and I'm like, I need you to explain how you got to where you got, because I did not make that leap with you. And it's like, you've done 6 layers of work in your own head. And I'm like, it's not translating to 140 characters. That's what I feel like Mhi'ya is.
Okay. I too.
The library is closed.
Yeah, I too agree that she is like me. Straight from your mouth to God's ears. Mhi'ya is like me.
Oh, man.
No, I had a hard time with Twitter. I had a hard time. I'm everything in the kitchen sink. And this is a lot of things.
Yeah.
But she also does the thing where it's like, because she's coming from Taiwan. I know it's Taiwan, but then I go to say Thailand, and then I like panic. I like the way that she brings... with a lot of her stuff, I feel like I'm learning and having fun.
Which is, I think, where she was trying to do with Jane Goodall. But it just felt like a PBS thing, which I agree. But this was really interesting.
The Buto, I did not know that it was sort of a response to ballet.
Yeah.
And
it was also like post World War II, I feel like she said. Yeah.
And they even, because I think somebody even made a Michaels or like Joanne Fabric's craft joke. And it's like, yes, the dried floral arrangement definitely probably came in some capacity from a Michaels, but it doesn't look like it.
It's amazing.
And I even compared it to Christina Aguilera's Fighter music video. Floria Sigmundi, who's one of my favorite directors from a style point. And it just
it's beautiful. It's stunning. It absolutely saved her. She would have been in the bottom without this look.
She could have just been silent and farted the whole time, and this look would have still.
Yeah, but like the face work she's doing and the like kind of grotesque movements, it's very good.
I actually thought this was really good.
I like it a lot.
And
she took the note about the ears too.
But it's like a really solid, quote unquote, like polka folk look.
But it still looks like Dawn.
It doesn't look like, and it doesn't look like a costume, because I think this kind of clothing, this kind of styling could look really chintzy or could look kind of like a Small World.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It looks very...
I was going to say, it reminds me of that movie Klaus about Santa. Because the little girl especially. Yeah.
I liked this a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. This is like, Dawn is one of the queens where I'm always like, I like to see what you're going to do and make it Dawn. Because,
well,
like,
and again,
it's been very
but I want to
impressive.
praise her restraint. Her
Sure.
Dawn, because it's like the makeup and the shoes are where the Dawn really came out.
Yeah.
Also, I just don't feel like I've seen it 100 times, which
also, yes,
you run into with a show like this.
Yeah.
This was just really good.
It's
the drag
really,
you.
It's really good. I love the
performance.
Well,
the fringe.
The fringe on the like what are they, pom pom tits are like very funny. Yeah, it's very good. And the hair too. Michelle called out the hair. I'm like a little bored. The tapping is impressive, but I'm a little bored.
It was very for Plasma. It's very safe and very expected. Having said that, I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know it's great,
and she did a great job.
Yeah. That was when in our watch along, I was like, "What is going on with this?" Because they interacted with the panel.
So I know they do the runway twice.
Oh, okay.
They kind of the first time they do it, and then I think that way the judges have time to prepare material.
Okay.
But you're right. With this season, it was a challenge to interact.
Yeah, it's like the wheels came off the mine cart. Like
they're all very comfortable.
Yeah,
they're all very comfortable.
Very comfy. This was pretty. You're right though about the lining. I didn't notice it until you said it.
I feel like that's a rookie.
Yeah, and this is the second time she's done it, too. I'm also like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. I am sick to death of the color red lately. I liked this a lot.
Did you really?
I did. I thought it was great. The mullet really suits.
Sure.
And I like the sleeves are so silly. And like literally the minute she came out, I was like, oh, Salt and Peppa. And they're like, yeah, Destiny's Child, TLC, everything. I was
like, she kind of looks like Missy.
Yeah, kind of Missy Elliott. I liked it. But yeah, the like red tacky mullet.
It was giving me Pirates of Penzance.
No, I mean the sleeves for sure.
This was beautiful.
It is stunning. And she's the glitter all over her arms and everything. She's great at her face, too.
She also, like... she seemed very vulnerable on the runway.
Yeah, that was odd. Because you mentioned it.
When she won, she seemed very sincere.
Yeah.
In a way that just kind of perplexes me.
I agree.
I did not like her out of the gate. And I predicted, I was like, just based on projections.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a good chance I'm probably going to end up loving her because I tend to like the bitch. I tend to like she's the hot bitch, and that frequently falls within my wheelhouse. But I have softened with her. I've warmed up with her, but there is what it feels like to me is I very distinctly remember going to Full Sail, going to college. And I very distinctly remember having that feeling that I'm like, I can do whatever I want. I can be whoever I want. And I remember, I have a friend who is very sharp and very funny and very on top of things. And I remember thinking I could emulate this person and take what I learned from them and, totally reinvent myself. And I remember trying it out once or twice with people as I was just getting to know them and being like, hated that. I hated that. Did not work. And there was one in particular, there was a girl in the class, and I remember kind of talking shit about her because I saw the opportunity to be funny. And thankfully for me, she didn't hear, it never got back to her. I let it go. And good enough, or good because she ended up being one of my closest friends in school.
Yeah. And
to this day, we're still friends. And I'm sort of like, could you imagine if I just picked a fight with her out of nowhere because I saw an opportunity to be funny?
Sure,
and so that's kind of what playing gives me is I'm like, are you just trying this out?
It seems
did she come into this challenge and like, I'm going to use it as a test run?
It seems like it could be a couple of things. It could be a little bit of that. It could be a little bit of like, Russia. Like it could be. And she also talked about her grandmother from Russia, like being.
But that was endearing.
No, but like being very like catty and acerbic too. And like that's where she learned it from.
So she had this moment of like like I said, not quite fragility. Well, yeah, she felt very.
Yeah. Well, she seemed very taken aback that she won. It was like literally clutching pearls.
And it was almost like she realized in real time.
Yeah.
And had to undo it. And so she threw some out of pocket,
in
like
the workroom,
and untucked. And they were sort of like, but no, don't do that. And she just got really defensive out of nowhere.
It was weird. I noticed like, it too.
Because she was like, do you want me to point them out? Fine. And she almost got kind of frantic.
Yeah.
Pointing out who she didn't like.
It was odd.
And I was just sort of like, stop that.
Yeah.
Just be, I don't know. That's how I feel about the situation. Yeah. They're really going back and forth. And I don't know if it's the X-ification of Twitter, because that's still, unfortunately, one of the few public forums we have. And because her and Amanda are still at it. They're still at each other's throats. And I don't know.
If I was Amanda, I would have just disengaged from that. It's funny, though, the way that you talked about college, because that's actually, like, my mom told me a story once about when she was in high school, and they did this exercise that would never fly today, where they all had to, like, write things about the rest of their classmates, like, positive things, but then also something that, like, they didn't like very much about the other person. And my mom's was like, she's very funny and she's very outgoing, but sometimes when she's being funny, she's too mean. It, like, comes across as too mean. And so I come by that honestly. But it's like, I remember when she told me that story, and I like took the note. I try to keep it to the, like, playful side of, unless you've wronged me, and then say what I like. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's something going on with her. I wonder if we're gonna get it or not. But I did note that as well. It was bizarre. I don't really understand.
It was like she remembered and was like, "Oh shit,
that's not
like,
my character.
I haven't met my quota for the day." Yeah, and I would just rather. I don't know. I'm at the color blending between the strippers place.
Well, because I'm at the, like, Violet Chachki, or not Violet Chachki. Where was it, Violet Chachki? Who was, like, such a bitch, and then they were like, you have to stop being such a bitch.
I think it came so much more natural to Violet.
Sure.
Like, I think when I look at Plane, I feel like I'm watching someone be a bitch.
Sure.
Where I think Violet Chachki just sort of was.
But she started being nice behind the scenes, right? Or was that Adore Delano?
I think it's Violet. We watched like 3 seasons in a 2-week span.
But, like, one of them was being such a bitch, and then finally got the note, like,
Violet. That's Violet.
This is not helpful to you. And so then behind the scenes,
because
was,
even
like, being a lot gentler, and that's when we finally got into her character, and we were like, you are great,
because they even brought back the queens who had already gone home for a makeover challenge, and it was Kasha Davis was like, Violet has changed the most.
Okay, yes,
like the difference is like night and day.
Yeah,
and but that felt so much more authentic, where there's an affectation quality to
Plane. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think she was last, right?
Well, she won, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I think Saphira should have, but I don't.
I do think it was, like, close between the two. Like, they both did amazing, and both their looks are fantastic. This is, like, more glamorous, but I thought the other one was, like, very fun, tongue in cheek. Yeah.
Okay. So, it was Tsunami versus Morphine. It was a pretty good.
They interacted a lot. I like when they do that.
I've talked about it a little bit. Morphine's one of the ones that I haven't connected with her. It just hasn't resonated.
Well, they kind of both are for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, in spite of that, I am getting more from Morphine. I think her lip syncing helped a lot. Yeah. Now, because I don't recall, I didn't remember if she's lip synced already. I didn't take note of it. Although it was I Want to Dance with Somebody, which is fantastic. Hallowed ground. Yeah. But that's where we're at right now. And we better wrap this up so that I can edit it and post it so we can do it again.
In 2 days. Yeah.
So, bye.
Bye.